All right, welcome in Cincinnati Soccer Talk. This is what happens when our producer's not here. Just videos aren't firing. We're staring into cameras blankly like morons. It's a good night to talk a little soccer, talk about a crisis being averted up in Toronto as FC Cincinnati gets a point on the road after a not so hot few moments there where they go down a man, own goals, always fun, but they salvaged that one. And just as you thought it was going to be a crisis and that we were all going to be, I mean, I think I'll put my hand up. I had put out the meme about its time, it's the burn it down time. Possibly still, we'll see. Maybe it's burn it down time, or maybe it's Neymar time. We will talk all of those things tonight, and it will be fun? Question mark. Joining me is Coach and Rupesh. Coach, glad to have you in. I know you guys were in. You were in last week while I was out, and obviously the big talk was a slight formation change or alleged formation change. That we needed you last week. We needed you for that heavy lifting of tactics. And I call on you once again to kind of give us the same thing, because we're watching a team that is struggling, and we need to know why. We need to know why, and we need to break this down. So I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight.
Yeah,
and
I'm
Rupesh,
really happy to be here, especially since Rupesh threw shots fired in the Slack at me when somebody,
yeah, you guys are going at it.
So I'm here to do battle.
All right, before we do battle, before we get into the match that was in Toronto, we got to go with our opening segment, What's Hot, What's Not, or What's Cold, by Apollo Home. Coach, why don't we start off with you? Why don't you give us your What's Hot?
I think for me, I'm going with just a broad swath, and I'm going to say the hotness for me is the collective effort in this Toronto match, and even going back a little bit further. But they looked more energetic from the start. Kevin Danke and Evander even were pressing a little bit, which I had to rub my eyes. Like, did they make a last term minute substitution? And I didn't realize because they were even working hard defensively, and then to get results when you're playing down a man, you have to have high collective effort. So, there's some of that too. So, I'm going to go with the collective effort. Impressed me.
Love it. Rupesh, what do you have for your What's Hot?
I want to say the defense looked better. I mean, we've been shipping in how many goals in the last 4 games? Like 14, 15. I don't even know. I can't keep count. I'm almost running out of fingers and toes how we've been giving up goals. So, giving up one goal that was an own goal, just the efforts out there defensively, and I'm just glad to see them looking better, looking back to last year's or the last couple of years kind of standard. So that was the hot for me.
For me, I'm gonna have to go with Danke's temper. It got hot there, in good and bad ways. Coach, you mentioned it. There seemed to be some decent energy from both him and Evander throughout the match. Some energy that some would argue we have not seen on a week-to-week basis, but almost too much energy, almost too much effort as Danke got. I mean, it wasn't warm; it was Toronto, so he couldn't be melting under the sweltering heat. But he kind of came undone there and got himself ran. He threw his shoe. He chucked his boot on the ground, tomahawked it into the turf there. That didn't. It led to a little moment for him, and then a little seeing of the red mist a few minutes later as he goes in on a challenge and throws his arm around, gets himself run pretty quickly. But it was the Danke temper that was quite hot this past Saturday. Let's go to some of our audience participation here. Jay Yates, his hot. Maybe some of the young guys can add some much needed fire. I know Coach is happy to talk about the younger guys getting some minutes, showing some gumption, showing some effort out there. And he'll get us started with the what's cold. Jay Yates is what's cold. This team still doesn't feel dangerous considering how much talent they have. Let's shift to that. What's cold, coach?
Well, apparently, I wanted to know first if there was any truth to the fact that Danke was hot because he's overheating because he hasn't taken his shirt off in goal celebration in so long. I'm thinking maybe it's like the old Honda, the old Nova I used to have, Chevy Nova. You had to pop the hood every once in a while and let some of the heat escape. No, I'm going to go with what's cold for me is this team's finishing. And it hasn't been atrocious, but let's be honest. When you have Barlow in on goal with just the keeper to beat, you have Evander scuffing a chance that were both of those were good chances. It's again, Hagelin both had headers on set pieces that they probably could have done a little bit better with. Nothing egregious, but when you're struggling like FCC has, you have to bury those chances when you get them.
Rupesh, what was cold for you?
To me, our composure. I mean, the team, what is this, 4 games in a row with a red card now? And I think I heard that's one off the record for MLS. So let's see if we can get that next game, I guess.
Houston has 5 in a row at some point in their history.
And I think San Diego is right there with us with 4 straight games with red cards right now going. So it's
challenge accepted is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's just I don't get it. So just the lack of composure is what's got me cold right now with the team. So
for me, what's cold, it was a little better this week, but there was still swaths of this match where your big marquee MVP candidate player, Evander, just wasn't there or wasn't there enough. This is the guy that needs to be pulling the strings, making things happen. They had a lot more chances than we've seen the last couple weeks. I feel like they were creating a little bit more, but still your best player cannot go through periods of being completely anonymous on the pitch. And we've just seen a lot of that from Evander. I think we saw a decent bit of it also this week. That was our What's Hot, What's Cold by our friends at Apollo Home. For a limited time, take advantage of Apollo's spring deal, a new AC unit as low as $99 per month. Stay cold when it's hot and hot when it's cold with Apollo Home. All right, let's get to it. Your Saturday final score: Toronto FC 1, FC Cincinnati 1. Getting to the lineups, it was at least what we were shown there. It was a return to the original formation, the plan A, as Salentano did return to goal. That was one of the bigger changes. Your back 3 being Flores, Hagelin, Miazga, Ramirez, and Echenike out in the wingback positions. Your midfield of Evander, Guidi, and Buka, and it was Tom Barlow up top with Danke. Coach, I want to go to you right out of the gate. Your thoughts on the lineup when you saw it?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought is just I'm not sure that the formation was really all that different, but the personnel was. And here's what I'm getting at. It seemed to me an awful lot like whereas last week they had Tom Barlow doing a lot more work defensively, dropping back, and Evander was basically playing as a second forward. This week that was flipped, and they had Evander more as a traditional midfielder. And then Nick Hagelin looked an awful lot like he was being a little more aggressive going forward to me. So I think that could basically take the place of that Kyle Smith right back, right center back hybrid. It really just depends on what these guys do on and off the ball with how the formation looks. And certainly it was a little bit different. But I'm not giving Noonan any big credit here last week for trying new stuff. More so I'm just saying he is tweaking things, but the formation to me, it's really more about the personnel than anything.
Also, is it really trying if you do it one time and it goes bad and you immediately abandon it? It's not a whole lot of trying going on. Rupesh, kind of a sight for sore eyes. We get to see that Celentano is back healthy and between the pipes. I know you had to be happy seeing that.
Yeah, definitely. You always want to see your number, well, for us, number 18, but your number 1 in between the pipes. So that was good. A little nervous on the first shot that came in. I don't know if it went through his hands when it was coming in from I guess it was from his left-hand side, that shot. And I don't know if he tried to catch it and it just went right through his hands and over the bar. But other than that, solid game. I mean, on the goal, you can't really blame him. You can't help what happened there. So, he was going to try to cut off the back post and just unfortunate on that. But yeah, it was great to see him back out there.
First half, no score to talk of, but obviously there were moments. I think that was kind of the biggest positive takeaway from this match, is I felt like that there was just so many more opportunities and chances created. We saw a little bit of that last week, but just it's a double-edged sword of that, right? They created a lot of chances. They missed almost all of them. So it was the execution that is leaving you disappointed, but at least they did not feel as toothless as they have at other points this season.
Yeah, they had a little bit of luck, I think, kind of playing in transition. That 6th minute Tom Barlow chance that I referenced in the open, Guidi was able to win the ball and push it back to Hagelin. And then from there it went Hagelin, Buka poked it to Evander, and then Evander did a bunch of work on the ball carrying forward and then pushed Tom Barlow through. So it was really back to front really quickly. And that quick movement of the ball is what I'm looking for. Man, like there seemed to be so much when this team is really struggling with confidence, they step on that ball so often. Buka, when he gets that, instead of trying to play on the half turn, he steps on it and plays it back to a center back, right? So the more I see of that, the more I think, you know what, at least they're pushing the issue, even if in the final third it's not quite clicking yet.
So I have a question for you, Coach, on that. And just in general, and I've noticed it for a lot of games, it seems like Roman will get a hold of the ball in the box, and like the other team has a lot of guys in the box, like just go. You've got advantage. You got five, 6 guys in the box. Just take a run and get going forward. And he always seems to just hold the ball. The one time he didn't was the game against Toronto here, where the ball came right back down our throats, and Shallowy scored his goal. But is that like what goalkeepers are told to do? Just hold on, or I don't know, because it always seems like he just holds the ball forever when he has a chance to break it out.
Yeah, I think not just with Roman, but with all the players, I think there's a little bit of a trust issue, and here's what I mean by that. Roman so FCC defends with a lot of players, right? There's not really some guy sitting up on the midline waiting for the ball. So if he's looking to throw the ball out to Echenike on the run, he's got to trust that Echenike is going to take that ball and not lose it right away. Because if Echenike loses the ball, like you said, just right back down their throats. And not only that, the back line's all pushing out at the same time, and all of a sudden the ball's coming back, which is way worse. And so you have to have the trust, whether you're throwing out to Kevin Denke and ask him to hold the ball up, or whatever. You got to have the trust that your guys are not going to turn it over. And I think that's part of what we see also in the build, when players are afraid to play the ball to Evander in a tight spot or to Echenike in a tight spot, those sorts of things. It's just not, they're either not trusting their own skill to fit it in there, or trusting their teammates' skill to not lose the ball.
So how does that change then? Like how do you solve that?
Well, I hate to invoke this name because, it's from those guys up north, but Wilfred Nancy, I think his genius as a coach was not anything tactical. It was instilling in his players the confidence that if you make a mistake, it's no big deal. And I think it's a team culture over the course of time where when people mess up, you say, hey, you tried it. Like, no big deal. We're going to turn the ball over. We'll win it back. Other coaches are really more like saying, now remember, you cannot turn the ball over in transition, which is what we're all thinking. But like giving your players, any of us who have dealt with kids, whether in coaching or raising kids, like if you tell your kid when you go to push them on a bicycle, now remember, do not fall, whatever you do, it's going to happen. Whereas if you're like, you got this, man. And if they do fall, you pick them up and you say, it's all right. You were doing really well. You'll get it. So I think it's just a different style of coaching. But also I think Pat Noonan's in a tough spot because his style is not particularly Wilfred Nancy-like, but I don't think he's also out there chewing his guys out or anything. I think the confidence of the team starts to dip because they're not scoring goals, they're not getting the results, and they don't know what's wrong because they have good players. So I hate to say it, but maybe a little bit of coaching, but maybe just some luck. Something's got to bounce FCC's way to get them going.
Let's talk Evander real quickly. I know I kind of gave him a little bit of guff to start the show. Coach, I want you to jump in here as his defense attorney. I thought he once again left a lot to be desired and was not the player we needed him to be. But I think you're going to make the argument he wasn't terrible. Like he still did stuff that was positive.
Yeah, he was involved in basically every big chance that FC Cincinnati had. You know, the two set piece headers that I talked about, obviously he's putting the corner in. He is the one who set up Tom Barlow to be in on goal in the 6th minute. In the 36th minute, he had a fantastic little dribble that then ended up, that's the one where Kevin Denke played Buka into the box, and Buka tried to cut it to his left to Tom Barlow, and it was just like 1 foot too forward, or else Barlow was going to have another chance to hit it right at the keeper from point blank range. You know, so he had those opportunities. Now, I think part of what we're dealing with is this rough patch in Evander. One, he's not scoring, so he's getting frustrated. Two, I think the coaching staff is telling him, do not drop deeper. Like, if you get fewer touches, but they're in the attacking third, we will take that. And so he was doing good work in the middle third of the field, but he wasn't touching the ball as often, and they weren't finishing plays off. So it's always going to look like when your number 10 isn't on the ball all the time, and he's not setting up goals because the team's not finishing, it's always going to look a little rough. So I think he was okay. Of course, the miss really clouds things because Evander last year was burying those in his sleep. Although maybe, to be fair, maybe it was just too close. Maybe you need to back up like 30 yards and then hit a banger and maybe it would go in.
Well, you talked about, you know, kind of the team confidence. I feel like there is possibly a confidence issue within Evander himself. I feel like there's been a few more hangdog moments for him where he kind of gets a little defeated out there than we are used to seeing from him. And obviously you're talking about a guy who is, you know, he's supposed to be, he's the star of the team. He's the kind of the catalyst of the possession and the attack. Like the spotlight is on him. When he was at Portland, I don't know if the spotlight was on him as much. Could that be it? The fact that he has to be kind of the guy still?
I think he was the guy in Portland too, but they had like a 3-headed monster up there when he was up there. I don't remember the other two guys because I think I remember Portland the last year that Evander was up there. They had 3 guys score like 14 goals or more each, which was like the first time that had happened in MLS. So I mean, he was part of a bigger group there, like with the burden. But I mean, my feeling is, was this team designed to have somebody like Evander in it? Because, you know, I think the build got caught off guard when Lucho walked out, and they seemed like when they brought Denke in, it was more to have a Lucho kind of guy who would find them. And I mean, not Evander's problem. I mean, he doesn't play like Lucho does. And I'm wondering if they needed somebody who played like Lucho does to do what Coach Noonan wants. And Coach, you can tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. That's just what I feel like sometimes.
I'll tell you you're wrong even if you're not, just because it's fun. No, I mean, you're not wrong, but you're not wrong either. I think that this team was not really even built to have a Lucho in it. And Lucho worked so well just going off script and doing it. The team kind of built itself around him like that, right? They had enough other pieces when Barrial was out there on the left or whatever that it was working. Now the team is struggling to progress the ball through the thirds. So Evander is not getting himself in 1v1 situations in the final third all that often. And when teams can put 1 or 2 guys around you, I mean, the work that if you go back and watch the Toronto match, the work that Evander did, he usually had a guy basically draped on him and he was able to wriggle out of it and get free. And then he was able to make a pass or something. He almost never just had clear field in front of him or the ability, the one clean chance that he had where the ball came to him and he could hit it first time, he scuffed. And when you're struggling, when you're not getting a lot of touches and you're frustrated, when that ball comes to you, your eyes get too big and then you scuff it or you miss it because you're not thinking, oh, I buried this in my sleep. You're thinking, oh, this is my one chance of the game. I can't screw it up.
No, I mean, that makes sense. And this is something I think we've been dealing with since Evander came in, is you are dealing with playing in the role that was done by a different style of player, not just only in the way he played, but also the Lucho demeanor and the Evander demeanor are quite different. Lucho looks like he's running the race of his life every time he's out there. Evander has a very, he just kind of has a more casual, laissez-faire, jogo bonita, just kind of letting it flow kind of thing going on. And I think that a lot of times that can be construed in a player not caring or not trying. But I don't think that's just not true with Evander. And I feel like he gets a real bad rap about that. Let's talk about the TFC press. Coach, you saw how the press kind of created some issues. You mentioned early on about how Tom Barlow kind of had to be the guy up top. What were the challenges that press brought?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this, to talk about this, is I think FC Cincinnati is going to see it a lot going forward because it works so well. And it's a simple man-to-man press. If you look at that front three of Toronto, they spread out and were one-on-one against each of the center backs. And that allowed their wing backs to push up on FC Cincinnati's wing backs. And then their wide center backs could move into midfield and mark forwards and things. Whereas on the opposite side, if you look at FC Cincinnati's press, they press really narrow, which means the wing backs are coming up onto their outside center backs. And then our outside center backs are having to move wide to mark wing backs. So you see the difference there already. The man-to-man press that Toronto put, what that means is one of two things. Either one, you have to win your individual battles. You need to have a center back take a first touch that beats that first line of pressure and then make a pass. Or you have to have a ball into Denke's feet and have him hold up under pressure, or an Evander beat a player off the dribble. Somebody's got to win a battle. Or two, you have to be able to play it long or in behind and get a flick on or a knockdown. And FCC was not doing that. They kept instead trying to work the ball onto the sideline against the man-to-man press and then have no obvious place to go with it after that. So the number of times Ender looked forward and had nothing and then turned around and was like, oh, there's nothing there either. And almost like tried to play Toronto through on goal, right? I was like, oh my gosh, I used to have a full head of hair. People don't know this, but I was starting to grow it out and I pulled it all back out again because the number of times that happened. You can't play a guy on the sideline when there's not an obvious second pass, because then he's got the sideline there defending him. He's got a player there defending him, and it's going to be a turnover. And when that does happen, that player has got to be willing to give up a throw, can't turn around and try to play it back to a center back who's marked man-to-man. So that man-to-man press is something that's happening all over world soccer right now because it's simple to instill. It is literally just an energy thing. Like, everybody go grab a man and follow him around and don't lose your battle. And so, everyone's going to do that against FC Cincinnati until maybe either Miles gets back because he can take that touch forward and beat the press, or until FC Cincinnati starts playing over the top of it and actually gets Jabari gets on the end of every long ball, but he flicks it to nowhere every time. If they can clean that up or get that to happen, then maybe teams will have to start sitting off a bit. But I expect that to see that against Chicago as well. Absolutely.
We'll press ahead into this match as late on it is an own goal by Flores, ultimately that kind of bundled it over the line there. Obviously, Toronto getting the advantage, not what we were wanting to see. Right before that, they had taken the man advantage because you had Denke had his moment. Talked about it during our What's Hot, What's Cold. He got really frustrated with what he perceived was a foul on him in the box as he was trying to kind of corral and bring down the ball. His shoe comes off. He slams his shoe on the ground when he doesn't get the call. He then, says some magic words, gets himself a yellow from the ref. And then it was kind of moments later that he's in the middle of the field, kind of not fully playing the ball, more playing the man, puts his arm kind of into the defender, and he is then shown his second yellow. It's a second yellow, not a red, so it wasn't really reviewed, because when you did review it, it was, I mean, you could tell he was trying to do something, but it wasn't like he was cold cocking a guy there.
Jeremy, that
what?
I don't know what kind of cell phone did they use to take that video they showed for the foul, because the only replay they had, I couldn't tell what the heck happened. It was like, what?
That was an interesting thing on the broadcast on the whole. I felt like there were some moments, and you go back earlier in the match to when Evander gets stepped on.
Right.
They never really go back and give you a good look at it, but clearly Evander got, I mean, he was down for a minute there. You thought he was possibly hurt. He looked in some serious pain, and nothing really ever came of it. And then on the broadcast, we just didn't get a whole lot to like give us the full picture.
Right. And then you find out the VAR is from Quebec, and you start to say, "I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't buy any of the conspiracy stuff. I don't think they had a good look at it. They didn't have a camera in that way to see that at the moment. The thing that I wonder if there was, because Denke clearly raises his hand. One, I hate that Kusevich goes down and acts like Denke gouged his eye out and then stuck it in his own mouth and made him eat it, because he was definitely dying. But two, you definitely see in that grainy replay from a drone or whatever that the Toronto player also raises his arm towards Denke. And I don't know if he like hits him in the stomach and then Denke smacks him in the face, or I don't know what happens. You see his hand come up and then Denke does his thing. So it's like something else happened there, whether it was words, whether it was something. And they always get the second guy. Denke's got to be better. So I'm not making excuses. I think he needs to be more mature there. But I do wish we could have a little more info about that, especially because Denke, like you had said, he was really angry from not just then. He also almost like got into it with Larea at one point. I mean, I don't know if they were talking a lot. I don't know if there were little fouls, if they were kind of like doing that thing where they kicked your heels or what, but he was not having fun for most of that match.
Oh no, Larea will bring that if anything. Yeah, I don't know if high definition has not made its way to Canada. Maybe they were still operating standard definition cameras there.
Speaking of Larea,
TV watching it.
How has Larea never played for Red Bulls? Have you not ever seen a more Red Bullsy player than Larea? Like every time you like look at him funny, he falls down and like rolls around, but also like he's constantly like trash talking and fouling you.
No. It's I know it kind of sounds like that center back that we have that came from a Red Bulls background. Let's get to the goal, the shining moment of the match, when Kenji Bomadem gets on the end of Jabari's great little pass in on a nice transition play. I mean, they caught him on the break there. He buries it. His first MLS goal. It was a great piece of teamwork and play there. It was a nice passage of play to see, and for them to actually cash it in. It was definitely obviously the match you wanted a lot more of. This team needs to start winning. It's hard to be going moral victories, and I'm seeing some gleam, I'm seeing some promise, but like it was a moment like that where I'm like, okay, maybe like all right, maybe the sky isn't falling. It still very may fall next week, but at least now that Kenji put that goal in, it has not. The sky is staying up where it needs to be. All is well. Remain calm, like Kevin Bacon said at the end of Animal House. Coach, talk us through the goal, though. I mean, it was a great little passage of play there.
Yeah,
catching them on the break there.
I talked about how I thought FC Cincinnati was getting back to front a lot more quickly in this match, and that's what happened in this match. Toronto come down and try to make a pass across, and like very nearly, like it could have been a really good chance, but for the intervention. I forget who deflected the ball, but it popped out. I think
it was Hagelin.
Hagelin, yeah, like a diving block, right? And it popped out to Guidi, and Guidi right away pushes up the line for Evander, and Evander draws some attention and then pushes it back to Guidi, which I think I love that. He doesn't just one touch it back to Giddey, he waits for the defense to collapse on him. Because remember, TFC's up a man, so he knows they're coming in hot. So when he pushes it back to Giddey, Giddey has some space, and he makes a great pass up the line for Jabari. And then Jabari's first touch was awesome. It didn't slow him down. It put him right into that place where he could drive at the defender or shoot or pass. And then he kind of almost falls, but and megs the defender for the pass. And then that finish by Dem was great. But even though Jabari looked a little clunky on it, he got the job done. That first touch was great. He set the defender up, and he eventually kept his composure even while falling over, basically, to poke it through to Dem. So I'm just going to say great team goal. Great job for Dem. Great job for him getting the his first MLS goal. I think it was awesome.
Yeah, and I think if you watch it play, Dem's all the way back, like where the play started, and he got on his horse to get up there to get a goal, right? He was on, I mean, he got a rocket tied to his back like Wile E. Coyote and took off. So that was great to see too, because a lot of times it seems like somebody gets up there and there's nobody running with them. They don't have anybody inside to go with them. And so it's great to see a team goal and to see somebody getting into that box and just going. So that was great.
Yeah, and finishing. Unlike Wile E. Coyote, he did not self-destruct. He actually received the pass and finished the job.
Yeah.
The match ends 1-1. The full takeaway from this match, the panic button, we don't press it yet, but my goodness, we can't have too many more of these. We obviously we got cooler jets on the red cards.
And Jeremy, and the yellow cards, you know, Jay Yates has the comment about that he thinks it feels like we get cards for things other teams aren't even getting fouls called for. And I think there's some legitimacy, a little bit of legitimacy, but some, you know, like the Brian Ramirez yellow card was simply because in the first half, Larea drew, air quotes, 3 fouls. And so the ref did the thing where he points at everybody. He's like, don't foul this guy again, which I get it when it's persistent infringement, but you can't then 40 minutes later in a game, Brian Ramirez like gives him a little like tug on his shoulder and it's a yellow card. Like, I don't think that that's fair. It was borderline whether it was a foul. If Larea actually just tries to play through it, they probably don't even call it a foul, but he gets a card because Larea is happy to dive on the ground and roll around like a fool. So I do think
Ramirez has on a weekly basis had to be reminded that the reffing in MLS is just going to be a bit different than what he's been used to the rest of his career.
Yeah, and that foul on Evander that Rupesh brought up was definitely a card. He got stomped on. It was a foul on a card.
It was no different than what Dotto did.
Yeah.
I mean, Dotto got sent off for essentially the same thing.
And had a game added.
2 weeks. Yeah, he got a 2-week red card for that. It's the inconsistency in reffing in this league that is what frustrates a lot of supporters, right? I mean, Larea, did he get a card for stomping on Evander? I don't even remember if he got a card.
They didn't even call a foul. They didn't even call a foul,
right? But if Dotto does the same thing, he gets 2 weeks off for it. So that's where it's the inconsistency. And I know the league's not going to do anything with Pro. Pro's going to say, "Oh, it was a great game." So this is what's frustrating, is that.
I mean, to be fair, what is there to do? You're going to grow some more refs from a different ref tree? Like,
I don't know, but I mean, the league needs to go back and I think go back and give Larea a 2-week suspension that they should have given him a red card in the game. The disciplinary committee could do that, but they won't.
Honestly,
they're calling out their refs.
I would settle for them putting out a report or like each week of like, here are the calls that I think the refs got wrong. Not Andrew Wiebe, but like actual pro. You know, I would settle with them.
Anyways.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to do that, but you know, I would just settle for them admitting mistakes ever. You know, the fact that like Laurel submits a question to the staff or as the pool reporter, and they're like, "Nope, that we saw what we saw, and we can't, and we'll never take it back. Prove us wrong." We're like, "Well, we have video evidence." They're like, "No, that's not what we're calling it. Was something else."
It's almost like the NBA 2-minute. They used to do that 2-minute report of calls. I think they did it specifically for the end of the game.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think that's something like what you're talking about, Coach.
Yeah. And I will say, I mean, obviously our team's not, you know, hitting on all cylinders here. So we're going to get frustrated and we're going to want to point the finger at the refs. The refs are not causing this team to struggle. And I think when teams get frustrated, they start doing sillier things. They start talking more. They start doing Kevin Denke style slap in the face sort of things. And when refs see that, they don't give you the benefit of the doubt. So I don't think the refs have been good. I think it feels like FCC's been on the wrong end of many of those calls, but also you got to play through it and you got to figure out a way, control the things you can control, you know?
No, definitely. All right, let's go to our go beyond exercise, go beyond player of the week. Coach, I start with you. Who are you going with?
Well, I looked ahead on the rundown and I didn't want to double up on players, so I'm not going to go who I would have gone with. But just because I roasted him last week, I'm going to go with Brian Ramirez. Do I think he was the best player on the pitch? Absolutely not. But I thought he was the worst player on the pitch last week, honestly. And he was much, much better. 4 tackles, 10 recoveries. He didn't get dribbled past a single time, which is a key for me because he seems to tune out so often. And the best part for me is he won 5 of his 9 ground duels, which are like big deal, ground duel. Well, the team only won 43% on the night. So him winning 5 of 9, 56% shows that he was even more tuned in or more up for it than maybe some of his teammates. So, you know, way to prove me a little bit wrong, Brian. I hope this is the moment in the season we look back on and be like, man, remember Ramirez before Toronto? We thought he was all a bust. And then after, he went on to be the player we thought he could be.
Rupesh?
For me, it's Samuel Geedy, goal-saving tackle on Sargent, who's broken in to the goal one-on-one, and Geedy gets his foot in there to deflect it. And then he had the MLS assist for the goal with the, I know it wasn't quite a classic up, back, and through, but my God, he got that ball out there. And this is the second time I can remember him this year making a great outlet pass to lead to a goal on the breaks. I think he did the same thing with Ender on a goal earlier this year where Ender, I think, fed Denke on it. So it's good to see Geedy getting that kind of pass out there, and hopefully this is just the beginning of more to come this year with Samuel. So,
well, since Coach didn't steal mine, I can give it. It's I'm going with Kenji Mbamadem. Obviously, you have to give the guy credit. He bags his first MLS career goal. He's shown some great flashes this season. Obviously, there was the match against the lesser sides we've played against this year where he's gotten more minutes and he's been able to show himself. But in a match where we needed something to happen, he joined in on a great passage of play, and when the ball got to him, he did what he had to do, and he slotted that thing home. So big on him. I do want to, before we close this segment out, we do have a question from John on Facebook, and he wants to know if we have a consideration for our go beyond our beyond it player of the week. Is Matt Miazga beyond it? Is Matt Miazga's time done? Has he looked? He has looked slow and rusty, and the jabbering only works if the play backs it up. That is what John throws out to us, Coach.
Yeah, it's a rough one. I definitely think Matt Miazga's looked a little slower, but I actually think that he's looked like he's been playing a bit better each match. But then, of course, this match he leaves with another injury. When a guy is already older and he starts to pick up these niggling injuries over and over, if this turns out to be nothing, I'm going to say, you know what? I think he's working his way back. He's getting a little bit better in his leadership and calmness back there. Not calmness in terms of some of the antics, but calmness in terms of not panicking defensively, I think will be good for the team and much needed. But if this is another even medium-term injury, I just don't know how you keep rolling him out there if he's always trying to recover and get back to his top speed, which wasn't even fast to begin with.
I mean, you have the Jeff Cameron when he first came to FCC, and the Jeff Cameron right there at the end where his legs didn't bend and he had to kind of hobble and try to chase people down. Hopefully Matt Miazga is not on the latter end of that scale. Hopefully there's still some good minutes left in him, and hopefully that injury that he left with doesn't end up being too serious and we don't have to lose him for another big spell. Those were our go beyond exercise, go beyond our beyond players of the week. Go Beyond Exercise is a Cincinnati physical therapy and fitness business that helps people of all ages stay active and fit They also work with the local MLS and MLS Next Pro athletes, and they're the official physical therapy provider of the Manu Ledesma Academy UPSL team. See how they can elevate your health and fitness at gobeyondexercise.com. All right. I'm going to guess there might be some people that aren't normally listening to podcasts from Cincinnati that are going to fast forward to this segment right here. The hot on the news bulletin, hot off the wire rumor coming from Tom Bogert, not Tom Bogirl. It was a real one. It was the real account, tweeting out this week that FC Cincinnati has had preliminary discussions with the representatives and of Santos as far as it comes to the acquiring of one Neymar. Yeah, that's a sentence you didn't think you were going to say anytime soon. Here we are. This is, I think when we all first heard this, it was like, okay, you know, teams talk to people all the time. Obviously, there's inquiring and tire kicking going on all across the world's game at every level by clubs that may make sense for it to happen and clubs where it's completely far-fetched to happen. Maybe that's just that. But as we hear now, there has been multiple discussions, and there is a soon-to-happen envoy of FCC luminaries that will be heading down to Brazil, or possibly the other way around, them coming up here. And that this actually might be a legit attempt at Neymar coming to FC Cincinnati. Rupesh is shaking his head. He is apoplectic. Your thoughts, sir?
Dear God, no. Is my thought.
Yeah, you wrote that real big on our notes. I do see that.
Dear God, no, in all caps with about 15 exclamation points after it.
Yes.
The guy's washed. And that, I mean, he's had 2 procedures on his knees in the last, I don't know, like 9 months. Like he had I believe an ACL issue, and then they had to clean up his meniscus. I know he's scoring when he's playing, but how much is he going to play? And, you know, how much is it going to cost you to bring him in? Is it worth it? And honestly, to bring him in at this point, who's going? Because somebody's going to have to leave because they can't.
Someone's either going to someone's going to have to leave. You're also
right.
And it kind of, you either are finding some way to buy down a Miles Robinson DP contract, or you're literally moving one of those 3 guys.
They can't. I don't believe any of the DPs can be bought down. They're all too high to be bought down.
Or because Cincinnati, everyone says, is the Miami of the Midwest, or you just loan him. And more air quotes from me, like Miami loaned Rodrigo de Paul with a wink and a nod that next season or whatever, you're going to buy him outright. And they eat some of the salary to keep him off a DP contract until the off season, when you can shift some things around, or when possibly this reported potential U.S. or domestic DP thing comes in. You know, I'm basically against this, like Rupesh is, but for the sake of arguments, just so we're not all just being like, wow, this is terrible, I will say, you know, the upside here is huge. And I don't mean of Neymar's performance on the field. The upside of Neymar's performance on the field is like maybe pretty good. Like, I don't think he could be as good as Son has been in this league. But if you get a name like Neymar to Cincinnati, when right now, when people talk about this, they're like, well, what? Miami, one of the LAs, maybe New York City. If Cincinnati is in that conversation because they've done it before, and especially if Neymar has fun and says good things about Cincinnati on his Instagram or whatever the kids are using these days, although he's not a kid, so he probably is still on Facebook, so maybe on his Facebook. You know, the upside could just be so good for the city and the team in terms of actually having some buzz and like having the chance to be like, hey, we can go out and look at these things. Like, let's not forget, Thomas Muller turned us down for Vancouver, right? And I'm not saying it was just because it was Cincinnati and Vancouver. He might not have moved to America for reasons we won't talk about that because it's not a political podcast.
But our German architecture,
we got the diamonds on our jersey. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah. We're shooing.
But but if Neymar comes to Cincinnati, now it's like we're in that conversation with those clubs, and that is nothing but good.
Yeah. No, I get you there.
I'm not even buying what I'm selling. Sorry.
Yeah,
I just here's what I want right now. I want the Google analytics on how many people around the world Googled where is Cincinnati over the week, because that has to be at a record high. I mean, there's people in Brazil that heard that word for the first time in their life and are like, "What is that? Where is that? Is this a coastal city? Where is he going?
How many N's do you put, and where do you put them?
What part of it?" Yeah. Listen, it's a crazy. I would say put it as akin to somewhat of if we did actually get World Cup hosting duties. It would be awesome. It would put Cincinnati on the world map, and it would also kind of be a disaster because it would be a city that probably maybe has the infrastructure to handle something like that, attempting to handle that. And here you have a Midwestern city trying to really, gussy themselves up and look all pretty for a world soccer star and make them go, "Oh yeah, well, I'll live here." So when that does happen, though, when he buys I don't know, maybe is Fernando Adi's house in Mason up for sale still? When he gets his place wherever it is, obviously let him know about how the roads handle sports cars around here. I mean, it would be insane if Neymar, if someone of that level literally like lived and operated within our little area here, our little fiefdom of Cincinnati. Like it's just kind of crazy. So Rupesh, at least humble, or at least humor me from that point.
No,
like,
I won't.
I
won't do it. I won't do it. I want to know who the hell is running this operation to do this, because
you already know that answer. You already know that answer.
I know who it is, and I'm not allowed to talk about him. But I don't see this being something that Chris and Noonan want, and I'll leave it at that. And you can guess who I'm talking about is making this kind of. This makes no sense soccer-wise. If you're playing Noonan's system and you want your front line to press, do you remember what kind of disaster it was when he was with Messi and Mbappe on PSG? I mean, they lost the league with those three together because none of them wanted to come back. I can't imagine what happens here if he's on this team and he's not going to. I mean, the chances he presses for 1 minute a game are zero. This is a decision that I swear to God is not being made by the soccer people. It just makes no sense. I asked one of my coworkers who's a big FCC fan, what are they thinking? And all he could say is marketing. It's a marketing ploy. It's for publicity. What's the point?
Sell jerseys.
Yeah, what's the point? Are we here to win? Are we here to try to? I know they want to make money. I understand that, but this decision it makes no sense to me. And I'm not buying anything you're trying to sell, Jeremy. Sorry.
Listen, Procter and Gamble is looking for a new face of Tide.
Oh, good.
They need a new global face of Tide.
Sure.
And it can be Neymar.
Mm-hmm.
The best part about this deal is that we all know it's not going to happen. So we get to talk about it, and we get to be in on all the ESPN headlines are talking about Neymar maybe going to Cincinnati. And then we also don't have to deal with the consequences. So it's like not quite all of anything, but it's the best of both worlds. You get to be put in there with the LAs and with Miami, but you don't actually have to have the consequences.
It's fun to dream.
This isn't a dream. It's a nightmare, Jeremy.
I don't know if this would be a dream or ultimately a nightmare. Rupesh, what are the actual financials though? I mean, he's not making like $2 a week. It's good money you'd have to spend to bring him in.
From Transfer Market, and take that with a grain of salt, but it's the only place I could find what his value is. They said his valuation's $10 million, so a $10 million transfer fee. And I believe his base salary right now for Santos is about $2.5 million, right, Coach? I think we both saw similar numbers there. $2.5 million, but that's just his base salary, and I believe he has deals for his image rights, and I don't know how those work out, and I don't know how they do those in MLS, but that's something.
But people
something
at Procter
else,
and
right?
Gamble figure that out there.
Yeah, that's something else. So You're looking at probably at least 12.5 million if you try to get him in the summer. I mean, 10 million for a transfer fee and a 2.5 million salary. But his contract does run out at the end of the year with Santos. So I don't know if he'd be willing to wait until January to come up. Then you get him as a free agent, but I don't know. That's what the financials are.
And
though.
as a 35-year-old too, so you get
Right.
a whole year older.
Yeah,
So that's pretty dope. Yeah, this again, this makes no sense actually on paper, financially or soccer. Like it's just, I don't know. I mean, coach, is there a like, if you're Noonan and you're told, hey, you got to figure this one out where this guy's coming, like, what are you doing? Where does he
honestly,
fit?
Tactically, Rupesh nailed it with it would be a disaster. I think the biggest thing wrong with FC Cincinnati right now is that at least before the Toronto match, they were carrying two passengers in the press. Denke and Vander both were not pressing, like hardly at all. And you add a third in there, I mean, it just would be miserable. So unless you are actually getting offers or for a Vander or something, and you're considering making that move, I just don't know how. You know, the way Miami is able to do it with Messi is they put all the young kids around him and they just say, yeah, Messi, chill in the center circle. Everybody else will do all the running. But unless you're going to convince Evander and Kevin Denke to do that, which I don't think you haven't been able to so far, it doesn't work tactically.
I will point out that even Evander has gotten in on retweeting and posting on Instagram some of the rumors. So he's excited. Obviously, fellow Brazilian, he's excited. We'll see how much that excitement goes and see how low the disappointment of it not happening affects him. Let's jump ahead before we get out of here. Saturday, the Orange and Blue are back at home. I think playing at a normal time. We've had a lot of Sundays and 1 p.m. games lately. They will play at a normal time at the Teak against Chicago. Are we already in must-win territory?
I think it depends on who you ask. If you ask the Bailey, I think they would say yes. I mean, the last match that I was out in Montreal
for them, though.
Yeah, and when Montreal scored in that match, like that place turned toxic quick. And so I don't think it's even close to a must win. The MLS season is so long. They could not win another game up until the international break, until the World Cup break, and still make the playoffs. Not that that'd be ideal, but it could happen. So definitely not from a points perspective, but from a vibes perspective, I think you have to at home get a result or else your fans are going to riot.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of more what obviously there's plenty of time to get back on track from a standing standpoint, but from a vibe standpoint, let's be a little bit honest here, from a employment status of everybody involved, I feel like we're kind of hitting that territory, right? This can't come too far off the rails without there being some sort of consequences. No?
I agree with you a little bit, Jeremy, but I think you have to look at the circumstances for this weekend too. Like, who's taking Kevin's spot in the starting lineup here? Right? Are we putting Jabari and Barlow up front? I don't know. I'm assuming. So
Oh, sorry. Am I saying that out loud?
You're going to play him at forward.
I just wanted to play. Yeah. Speaking of, let's go back to the Neymar segment. Why are we in talks with Neymar? We have Kenji the Kid and Boma Dem. Put him out there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Play the kid. I'm always one for playing your kids, but I just don't know. You know, if it looks like just a total train wreck, yeah, there's problems. And I agree with Coach. I mean, we're in 10th place. We're one place out of making it in the playoffs, right? There's time. This isn't a must win. Now, you know, early this season, our schedule's been one of the softest in the league. And this is what's happening. So I'm worried about if they don't get this figured out. But I don't think it's a must win, but you better have a good showing at least that stuff's going in the right direction. I'd say even with the Red Bull loss, at least stuff looked like they had ideas and they were going in the right direction. So, and same thing with this game against Toronto this weekend. So as long as I'm seeing the path is going forward, that it looks like they have ideas and they're going in the right direction. As long as this isn't a total just disaster class, I think you're okay, even if you don't win.
Chicago does have a midweek U.S. Open Cup match where they have to go to the land of skeleton gloves and LARPing to go to a Detroit City match.
And they're
that'll be
starting
fun.
Their starting center forward, Hugo Kuipers, hasn't played because he has a head injury, like a concussion protocol. So even if he plays, he will have been out for a couple matches, probably either won't start or, maybe not be sharp. So maybe a little bit of a bonus there. But man, seeing Zinkernagel and Haile Selassie running at Brian Ramirez definitely scares the bejesus out of me.
Sorry, what was that first guy's name?
Zinkernagel.
Okay. All right. Love it. Is he Polish?
I'm not sure where he's from.
No idea.
I don't know.
He's a holy terror is what he is, Lance. He's a holy terror.
I think Chicago Fire legally have to have like 3 Polish guys on the team. Very, very proud Polish city there. Let's wrap things up. Final thoughts, Coach. Is the sky falling?
No, I don't think the sky's falling. In fact, I think that FC Cincinnati has made some steady progress in that pendulum sort of way. Last year, everyone was screaming from the rooftops, 1 goal win aren't sustainable. And they got rid of the 1 goal wins. So that's good. The lack of offensive output, they started scoring some goals, creating some chances, but then the defense was really bad and they were giving up all sorts of goals. And then against Toronto, they tried to find that middle ground. And I think they kind of hit it perfectly. They gave up basically nothing to a Toronto team that had been pretty decent going forward, at least at times. So I don't think the sky is falling. I think that what you need to do if you're Noonan is quit panicking and quit being like, well, I gotta have Tom Barlow out there because he's the only forward that works hard, so I'm gonna play him as a midfielder. Quit saying like, oh, you know what, I think you get bonus points if your 3 center backs add up to more than 100 years together, so let's put all our oldest guys out there. I want to see fewer old dudes playing out of position and more young guys playing in position. I want to see Flores. I want to see Mboma. I want to see Dado all getting minutes every single week, instead of guys like even Kyle Smith. Like, he needs to be strictly a backup, find a way to get these other guys on the field, whether it's formational tweaks, whether it's with Kevin Denke being out. Like, let's give it a run.
Probably want Flores to not be facing his own goal in the box anymore, but we'll take any more than we get. Rupesh, final thoughts.
My final thought is for anybody going to the game on Saturday, I-75 is going to be shut down at Lynn Street because they're doing construction. It was shut down going north this week. So if you're going to game, get down there early or find an alternate route that doesn't take you down 75 because it is going to be a mess down there. So
75 is normally always a breeze and a real.
Oh yeah, but this is going to be exceptionally bad. So just be prepared.
All right, that is it for us tonight. Obviously, we will have more next week as we break down the Chicago match, talk about the next phase of this Neymar saga. That's I think we should just enjoy the ride while we have it. It'll be fun. And then it'll be over, and nothing ultimately will really ever change. But we'll it'll be the friends we made along the way. All right, folks. Good night.